So I'm having issues with my camera on my computer today, so I decided I was just going to do this really short video on my phone. So I was talking with my colleague Nanji Mateo, who I run Interpremed.com with. I'm the co-founder, she's the founder of Interpremed. And I recently started, so Nanji's had this, what's called the Memory Club, which is now the Advanced Note-Taking Club. However, I decided to start my own kind of club on Interpremed called the Ethics Club. So the Ethics Club, what we do is we go over ethical principles and we have discussions and we kind of go over different ethical scenarios in medical interpreting. The reason why going over ethical scenarios is such a great exercise for medical interpreters to do, and really any interpreters, but I'm a medical interpreter, so I'm going to go over medical interpreting ethics, is that if you work through these ethical scenarios and come to a conclusion, really thoroughly work through them. Then if you're faced with a similar scenario in the field, you've kind of already done the legwork. And what you're able to do is you're able to kind of cut out some of that time, which when we're in these situations, when we're in the field, especially if we are a remote interpreter. I'm an in-person interpreter, but Nanji is a remote interpreter. A lot of times what happens is we don't have a lot of time to go through the ethical decision-making process and to really go over what are our different options, what's the most ethical course of action here. But if you do that legwork beforehand, when you're faced with a scenario, a similar scenario, because not all scenarios are going to be the same, a lot of times there might be something different enough to where you might need to think about it a little bit more in depth. But at the very least, you've cut out some of that legwork. That's Nanji messaging me about an ethical dilemma that she encountered in the field. So that's why it's really important to go through these ethical scenarios. It's something that I wasn't really even interested in medical interpreting ethics, at least not to this degree. But once I started actually going through these ethical scenarios and really breaking down the codes of ethics and really breaking down those ethical principles, now when I face ethical dilemmas in the field, it's almost like this sixth sense that I have to be able to just really fluidly navigate these situations. So I highly encourage everyone to do this who's a medical interpreter. Really work on those ethical scenarios. And if you really want a group of people that you can work with on these ethical scenarios, come join the Ethics Club at Interpremed. We do lots of really interesting, really innovative things, and it's almost like being in a philosophy class again, but it's all about medical interpreting ethics. So feel free to join us on Interpremed.com. You will need to make sure that you subscribe to a Memory Club membership level to have access to the Ethics Club. But it's really, really awesome. I'm really excited about it. And I really think working through these ethical scenarios before you encounter them in the field make you interpret more ethically, make you more ethical in your interpreting practice, and takes a lot of stress off your shoulders.